What is going on, guys? Paul here. This is a little tutorial, well, not really a tutorial, just a tip on how I do my pathways in a really nice way that you can do it. Not saying this is the perfect way, but this is the way I like to do my pathways and stuff, and I think you might find it helpful, hopefully. So let's get on with it. The blocks you're going to need to use for this one are, and you can use your own, but these are the ones that I like to use. Big fan of the granite block. Then there's the gravel. There is the cobblestone. We've also got coarse dirt in there. Leaves, I'm using oak leaves, but you can use whichever ones you prefer. Fence post, I'm using the oak one, and a torch. So I've built this really standard, non-plus, nothing major, nothing wonderful, really sort of basic looking house. Maybe a little bit of detail with the roof being a little bit of a different shape and stuff, but apart from that, it's just your bog standard, as we'd say over in the UK house. So we want to put ourselves a nice path into this house, and it's plain. Okay, the house isn't great, but hopefully with this pathway and the bushes and stuff surrounding it, it'll make the house look a lot better. This is something I learned on stream, that I built a stable, it was pretty poor, but putting the stuff around it made it look better. Now, one thing we don't want to do, this is what you want to avoid when making a path. Don't straight. It just doesn't build immersion into your world. Imagine filling those with granite or coarse dirt or anything like that. It would just look terrible. So we'll just fill that back in, like so. So we basically want to almost curve it out. So we're going to like try to do this as randomly as possible by knocking blocks out. Sometimes when you try to be random, you end up being more uniform. It's very bizarre, but as we go along, we'll sort of take blocks out, pop blocks in, make it look a bit more random if it does start to look a bit uniform. So we're just going to place some of the granite blocks in. Now I'm using a texture pack for this one. This is Bdubs texture pack. It's what I play in. It's a beautiful texture pack for builders that don't want to go too far away from the vanilla Minecraft. Just gives you a few different options. You'll see here, look, that the gravel looks different when you put it down to, normal. Sometimes it looks the same, sometimes it looks a bit different, and I just think it adds to it. So it'll probably work in other texture packs as well, but this is one I'm using. I will show you in normal vanilla style once we're done, and we'll have a look at it in that and see how it compares. But we just want to throw down as much randomness as we can. We'll come in with the cobble now. Like I say, this will sort of mix up a bit. I like to sort of put a bit more cobble in, as if that would have been the original. The granite works as kind of like a mixture of cobble that's been down so long it's got really dirty and really sort of grimy and stuff, and dirt's got over it and it's stained almost with mud and so on and so forth, as if the grass has sort of gone away. Maybe this coarse dirt, when it gets wet, gets muddy and it's kind of dragged along, and it just adds to the texturing and the immersion of it. And you'll see what I'm doing. I layer it. I mean, we'll look at this pathway in a moment, and it will look, it'll just look terrible because there's nothing around it, nothing sort of complementing it or working with it to make it look like it should be there. It just looks like a load of random blocks, and people will be like, he's put granite in the floor. Why has he put granite in the floor? The boy's crazy. But I'm not. It works. Very kindly. I mean, look, that just looks like a ridiculous load of blocks on the floor, but it's not straight. It's kind of higgledy-piggledy all over the place, and it kind of curves into the building, which is what you want. Next up, we're going to put some signs down. What I was going to say was, quite kindly, Bdubs saw a screenshot of me using the granite in the floor, and he said he liked it. So, that's really pleased me. When you get somebody who's made a texture pack for reasons like that, saying, hey, that looks really good, it gives you a bit of a boost. It makes you think, yeah, I'm doing something right. So we're just going to pop, like I said, a few signs here and there with torches on. The single ones I've torches on. You saw me throw a torch on one that had been put there, but signs just really help create signs. What am I on about? Fences really help create that almost twigs in a bush. You get little bushes coming out and they have sort of branches and stuff. It kind of helps to go towards that in a way. It's not perfect, but it works. You can look at it two ways. You can use your imagination and say, yeah, that is the trunks of the hedge or the bush or whatever you want to call it. Or there used to be wooden fences there, bushes have overgrown, and you've just left the fence posts in because you're lazy and you don't want to take them out because you like the way it works. So you can look at it anyway. Now, obviously, if you're doing this in vanilla, you might not have all of these bushes to spare. So you can either do it to a minimal standard or just add to it as you go along, whichever you feel best doing, and just sort of go with it. Just go with the flow and just see how you get on and see sort of what you like. And already, for me, it's starting to take a bit of shape. It's starting to really feel like more than just some randomly placed blocks in the middle of nowhere. And I've purposely done it in a flat land with nothing else on it apart from a few stupid animals to show you that the surroundings of a mediocre building and some pathways can really make a difference. Yeah, you're still going to see like massive vast open spaces, but already this is feeling much better. It feels so much better already to me. I don't know, you might not be thinking the same. You might be thinking, nah mate, that does nothing, but to me it does. To me it feels just a lot better. And then one thing I like to do is I try and keep flowers out of it for this style of pathway. Flowers I'd leave for decorative boxes and stuff and plant pots and things like that, but I tend to take the flowers out and just sort of work with it without them. I think it fits better than having those colourful things in the way. So I had a bit of trouble with one there. It would not grow anything other than one certain type of grass, so I just skipped over that a little bit there. It was getting a bit annoying. Always throw in a bit of long grass. Now, if you're not in a texture pack, obviously the smaller grass isn't quite as small as this, so it doesn't always get the same effect, but just work with it. Just do what you want, as much or as little as you like. I like calling it, careful spamming, where I'm kind of spamming stuff everywhere, but in a careful and selective way. Obviously, you might not be able to do this in your survival world, but this is just to show you how the tree would grow. Always putting the cobble behind the torches, that age-old Minecraft trick, and then I'm just going to fill some of this in. You're just going to have to work with it in vanilla as you can, because obviously you're not going to have all of these resources available. I was going to throw a couple more trees in or another tree in, and we'll see how we go from there. There you go. It's in, it's on, and I've popped, like I say, another tree down at the front, so it kind of arches over the top of the pathway to the entrance that you're going to come into, and it kind of pulls you into it. That's the way I look at it. It kind of just pulls you into that little space, the pathway. You just sort of forget, to me anyway, I kind of forget the rest of the world is there, and I just get drawn into this quite, not tight, but it feels tighter kind of pathway to the location I'm going to, and that's what I really like personally in Minecraft. I'm not saying everybody has to like it that way, but for me that's how I like it. I'm just going to throw some of these bad boys in. I always like to have some leaves hanging down, because if you want to put vines on them as well, yeah, there can be a pain in the backside having to chop them back a bit, but it really adds to the effect. Yeah, we'll have that there. I feel like we need to have a look. There's a bit too much coarse dirt there, so we'll do that, and then we'll... There we go. So that feels good to me. That does feel very good to me. It's starting to work, starting to draw you in a bit more. Each time we add something and walk down it, I feel like it's closing in on us more and getting the effect that we're going for. You just throw a few just normal trees around, normal size ones, just let it do whatever size it does. Won't do massive ones, I don't think, but just adds to the depth a bit. Then we can start working on putting stuff around the house as well as we go along. Just sort of adding some bushes around. I'm very bushy intense. I like the bushes all over the place. I just think they add a lot in terms of the look of the world. If there's a big vast open space around your property that you build in, it just pop a bush down, pop some bushes down, spam a bit of bone meal around, you know, maybe build a custom tree if you like building custom trees, and just sort of see what works, and you'll eventually find something that you think is spectacular. And it's always nice when other people are like, that looks amazing, but first and foremost, you know, you want to, you see, I'm not too keen on that, but I'll go with it. But first and foremost, you want to be happy with what you've got, because if you're filming or recording or on a server or something, yeah, other people are going to come look at you, want them to like it, but more importantly, you've got to live with it, you know. And yeah, you can change it, you can, you know, take it and change it and stuff, but first and foremost, you've got to live with it more than anything. You'd rather not have to mess around changing these things. You'd rather be happy with it straight off the bat, I think. There's going to be a few flowers that I've missed, I know there is, like you and you, and you thought you were going to get away with it, but you've not. So there we go. And as we come in, look, it draws you in. I really quite like that. I'm going to pop a bush on there, I think. There, that's better, just to enclose it in a bit more. I feel like I do feel like we need a tree over this side somewhere. And that's, I don't want to go too much into doing that out, so that's just to kind of draw your eye away from the massive vast open space, because you don't want to be staring at that too much. So what we'll do is, I think in a minute, yeah, it feels good, we'll have a look at it in the normal vanilla texture, and then we'll have a look in shaders as well, in vanilla and in this texture pack. But I'm really pleased with that. I like the way it's come out. I really do like it. I think it's come on really well. Okay, so this is the normal vanilla texture pack. Now the granite still works. This is where I originally did it before I started using that texture pack, but the grass is a little bit taller. The small grass is a bit too tall for me, so I wouldn't quite have that much of it around. I'd still be using the tall grass, but I wouldn't have this much small grass around. I'd sort of just doctor it to how I will, because to me that feels way too much grass coming up the pathway, so I kind of take that out, like I say, maybe knock it down a bit, maybe use some of the pathway blocks instead. And this is it with the shaders on. I think the shaders looks really, really good as well. I think it's kind of nice the way it works, and we'll have a look at it again in the pack. Pop, there we go. You see, instantly the smaller grass looks a lot better, but for me that feels really good. I mean, I don't know if you people are going to agree. I don't know if you're going to like it as much as I do, but for me this really works really well, and I'm really pleased with the way it's come out. I think it looks really, really nice, and it's just a way of enhancing your immersion into the world that you're creating on Minecraft. So hopefully it helps you out, guys and girls. So there we have it. That's it. That's my little tip, my little tutorial, whatever you want to call it. That's it, we're done. Hopefully you've enjoyed it, hopefully it's helped you out, and even if you've only picked up one or two things from it that you've never thought you'd tried before, like granite in the ground, then my job's done. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Please remember to hit the like button if you've enjoyed it, and subscribe if you're not already. Remember to stay handsome and stay humble. Bye bye.